Well, it's 6 a.m. Welcome to the AM show. Of course, it's now time for the AM news with me, Noella Kameniali. And of course, we begin the news with our top story. And 52,320 registered voters are expected to vote in 119 polling stations today in what is expected to be a fiercely contested race between two giant political parties, the NPP and the NDC, in a by-election occasioned by the unfortunate demise of NPP MP Ernest Kumi. Amid security concerns, the police service say they are deploying 5,500 security personnel to ensure safety of polls to avert the recurrence of violence in Ablekuma North rerun. Now let's touch base with our very own Samuel Kojo-Brace, who's right in the thick of affairs in Akwatia, to tell us the mood on the ground. Kojo, if you can hear me, good morning to you. I know it's early morning. What's the mood like in Akwatia this morning?
So, Noella, I just stopped by to give you, I don't know if you can see my background, but we just came across the police deployment in Wenchi.
Right.
We just entered Wenchi, and as you can see from the background, the police is heavily represented here. And as soon as you enter Wenchi, you would see some police checkpoints. We're just close to the Wenchi police station. There's a one checkpoint here. Just after some 100 meters, there's another checkpoint. It just tells you how prepared the police is to ensure that this election is peaceful. They've said that they will make sure that the election is very, very peaceful, and they will do everything to ensure that, look, we have a peaceful election. So here you are. I've tried to turn the camera so you can really appreciate how well the police is represented here.
Right.
That bus is full of police personnel. And if I take you here, I just want our viewers to see what the deployment is like when you come to Akwatia. I tell you what, this is the, Achim Wenchi police station. And as you can see on in your background, the police are heavily represented here, sending a signal that we are ready to protect this election. So, if you see this, it gives you the assurance that indeed the police is upbeat about this election, and they don't want to leave any stone unturned. They are ready to ensure the election is peacefully, gathered. We understand by 5 a.m. the Electoral Commission dispatched the electoral materials to the various polling stations. So, you don't see queues coming up now, but you expect that by 7, surely queues will start mounting in the various polling stations. Remember, 119 police stations, over 50,000 voters. We are expecting that this election will be as peaceful as the officers have said already.
Now, since you mentioned voters, have you met any of them, and how is their eagerness like? Are they eager to vote?
When we came into Akwatia yesterday, we had a chat with some voters, and they were eager to vote. They were eager to determine who becomes their parliamentary member of parliament. I can say, we spoke to some people in Bwadua, and the sentiment was that they wanted one person to become the leader. From those we spoke to, they were rooting for the MPP candidate. But it's understandable because that is hometown. Right. So when you go to Takrasi today, of course, Jacqueline will be there. We'll be able to tell how the sentiment is also in Takrasi. But I've come across some people here. I don't know if they're voters. Let me try and see if I can speak to over. Great. You will join us here. Your brother, Salasi. Unto about okay, forgive me. So this person votes in Accra, so he's not a voter here, but we'll try and gauge the sentiment of the voters to understand how it's going. But you expect that this morning people will be eager to go and cast their vote. So we'll be getting to the police stations to gauge the mood there. You expect that whatever happens, we'll let our viewers know.
And Kojo, obviously this election is going to be between two big political parties, and already we've mentioned how fierce this election is going to be. Have you met any of these members, and what are they saying?
Well, we haven't met any of the candidates, but we've met party people who tell us how eager they are to win. If you speak to both the NDC and the MPP, they adduce reasons why they think they are winning this election. Everybody believes in the capacity of each candidate to win this election. So it depends on where you stand. Obviously, if you are an NDC person, you say that lawyer is winning. If you are an MPP person, you say your candidate is winning. So it's quite, an interesting space here. Hold on, let me try and see. Mommy, what's today? I didn't hear. Oh. Oh, yeah, I said, we are more assurance. I'm more house on the protecting. That ain't now.
That is I'm protecting. I'm protecting. I think about one that I'm protecting. We are Mukum. I told my year and he said, "Me when I'm slow, Namakuma."
And to the owner, I'm a moment for you.
And I'm a team is so kind of people. Until I stand me one side, I'm in Slopa.
Okay.
About about could be a quarter, you know. I put it will be there who is Adam Makuma. But you're being young and I can't pass
and to me bow and to solve the trouble now. Better mine.
What's my time behind? And if they do one man, I'm young cocoa motivation. Some of what we give party and you're meeting in woman and women and my drama. I already have that part of what we did young.
Okay, all right. So there you have it. I mean, she says that she's a bit apprehensive about the police that she's seen. Well, so that's her viewpoint today. She is also not ready to tell us who she's going to vote for, but I mean that's her point. Let me try and get another person to see if we can speak to him. Chief, let's say, okay. Now, the say,
we didn't want to say a year or about banning easy.
Only one
MPP.
I didn't know office about the
content.
I didn't know about
And job of fun is a yow. Or Ernest Kumi and who yow. And a debate after the battle about a man. Okay. And I have here MPP by a cat. Then body city now. Open baby, I see MPP. At the Shuma, na asa when she ha.
Okay.
Until I'm Makuma. I didn't just him was on obey to me. Afabano.
Now, Yansha police and so on. Who is saying?
Oh, police for no one there. Maybe there. Moon is a band one on Baboy.
Okay.
As a BSC, baby, and Dino Mompasa, about and bet me see Untinama. I'm there for an Abeguan, baby.
Okay. All right. Yo. That's why. So what he's basically saying is that he's going to vote for the MPP candidates because they are angry about the death of their former MP, Ernest Kumi, and therefore they would go and vote for the MPP replacement. He's also happy about the police that they've seen here. He says because of past experiences, that's why they've brought these number of police people here, and he's happy about it. Let me try and engage another voter here. Chief, good morning.
Morning.
Did you vote here?
Yes.
You vote here. Who are you voting for today?
Asumadu.
Yeah. The MPP candidate.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm an MPP. Let me see.
Okay. Katrina. Yeah.
Oh yeah, me MPP ni mapa. And if you go on a nipa, when she had a quick temperature, you see a 12 man will be me. Abwine.
I didn't know if he's on now 12 man between Abu.
Oh, any pa, and yes, I know what you pen. Why that? Ogufi na adoyen and some year or more bonny. The be out to Safrena. Oba.
Okay.
Aha, I need to know. Ama you to know what she had. It is on the 12 man because people on each channel. You know, you didn't say one day the late Ernest Kumi. You see, I thought you know, or didn't go on the 2 months one. Kofian to attend the Saturday. Unipa only a woman for 20 years. Ain't been to Abama Amani, and I'm here to Abadama and this person. Bami, assume it. Okay.
Yes. Now, police for us, also police be able to one saying,
oh, yeah.
Okay.
You want to police here? The one you get, I'm for weapon be a major police in your bed. Obubia, and you fish a banner, a better baton. As you do, young fact can be any person bear a bit of time because I'm here in and I'm from Union. He may take your conversation of command be our.
That's why. So what he is also basically saying is that he is also going to vote for the Asumadu person who is the MPP's candidate because one, he is an MPP person. And again, the candidate of the NDC is a lawyer who was taking Ernest Kumi to court. And they believe that they cannot then vote for someone who has done that thing. And so he's not going to cast his vote for him. About the police presence, he says, this is good. If you don't misbehave, you won't be mishandled. And therefore, he's very much okay with the police presence. I've seen one woman here. Let me try and engage her thought as well. And then we'll hand it over to you. Is your mom saying?
I mean, I don't know. No, swear.
I don't know. Saying.
A family Christiana, I can say.
Then election, I was saying.
Let's in the Bible Koboko. Or Dawson, you're there to a ban.
Okay.
If you say, assume I do not yet to a ban, a banamano. When you pabonini. Yet a year to a ban is or doing pan. Be a beer friendly be or beba. Not yet, the kind. You want to say, next. On any two, and you on in your Janabano. We are children. Obi 4 years time, watch so 300 with Jemuman. Watch so 2,000 plus or so on Jemuman. And then I'm so, and then this need Fanako court, lot lawyer. What to be a call and Krabiami Kobi. A baby no Casa. Obekasa baby no. You only palm a warren. Most of the court was Swaban. Or no, Ucha, most of the kind, or no more rain. Most of the kind were unnecessary. We actually no really. And was a channel, a basse, on it, way beaten. And see, the abandoned yet, they found falla, or Dawson near the Traban, and not to Quasso. Okay. And not to Quasso near the Traban, or Dawson. Okay. If it's only power in a young man, so what's our 6 months' time, a bay lesson. 6 months, yes, I a lesson. That's all the power. Then yes, you do big abandon to Abama. A Jumbonia woe to the moon. And yet, and never. Okay. Papa, what's your journey? Papa, so time. And no one. Yeah, and this is I better by a man and allegation. And then Tina allegation to improve. Now, police want to say. Well, police, that's on Jabo Boko. So anybody, your cast of police more by dead day. Na MPP abandoned the answer of which will be so 300 German. 2,000 plus now soon, your man, as a police barrier. Okay. Maybe be any a Yaboko, as in Jobu Zawana, you came here to a bedding for him, do a dick. The winning, why we are coffee,
So, I mean, her point is also that Ernest Kumi was defeated in the 2020 election by 300 votes. He let it go. But he defeated the NDC candidate by over 2,000 votes. They didn't let it go. They took him to court. She feels that, well, by that, and again, the person who they claim won the election was defeated in their primaries. And therefore, if you are bringing the lawyer again to stand, obviously they have to choose the MPP's candidate. You also expect this because this is Wonchi. This is where the late Ernest Kumi comes from. This is his hometown. So the sentiment about the MPP is also quite expected here because this is the hometown of the late MP. So it won't be quite a good yardstick to then tell you exactly who's winning this election. But from the interaction we've had, the MPP candidate comes across as a likable person. They speak about his affability, his resourcefulness, and being able to extend support to other people. So, I mean, from the two areas we've been to and the people we've spoken to, it looks like he's on the MPP candidate is in the lead, but you also have to go to the NDC areas to then be able to tell exactly who's winning this election. When we get to Akwatia, we'll probably gauge the mood there, and that could give you a fair idea as to how this is going. But we also have an eye in Takrasi, which is the hometown of the NDC candidate. That can also tell you exactly how this election is going. So we are promising our viewers a 360 coverage of this election to be able for you to tell exactly what is happening. But I mean, early days yet, but you can tell where the voters in Wonchi and Bodua, for example, are headed. They are choosing Asumedu, and just because Asumedu comes from Bodua and the late Ernest Kumi comes from the Wonchi township, which is where I am currently. So, I mean, Noella, this is how the mood is in this constituency. And I tell you what, the police is very much represented here, and it gives that assurance that this election will be peaceful if all things go according to plan.
Good job done, Kojo, and continue to have your eyes and ears on the ground. We'll come back to you for more updates. And let's still stay in Akwatia, because the NDC and NPP have failed to commit to a peace pact in Akwatia ahead of the by-election with less than 24 hours to go. A scheduled engagement facilitated by the National Peace Council collapsed after the NPP refused to participate, citing the NDC's decision to present constituency executives instead of national representatives. Speak to the media at the Akwatia Emmanuel Presbyterian Church. A board member of the council, Sheikh Armiao Shaibu, said the council remains ready to facilitate the commitment at any time before the polls.
As we indicated to you in the morning, we had earlier engagements, separate engagements with the headquarters of the two political parties, both NDC and MPP, took some concerns. Subsequent to that, we had a meeting with the IGP to address some of the concerns that we know had been raised. And then subsequently, we also had a meeting with the chairman of the Electoral Commission, also to seek to address what in our estimation will help us to have peaceful election in Akwatia, contrary to what we saw at Ablekuma. The two parties earlier on were represented, but there were some issues of concern that needed to be resolved. And in the spirit of mutual dialogue and mutual respect, the two parties agreed that we should suspend the meeting. As it is now, our assumption is that because tomorrow is the election day, probably there's so much work that they are doing. So we are still around, hoping to engage. Probably if it requires that we still engage them in a separate meetings, we will do so. Our intention and our objective here, within the context of the mandate that created us, and that is to facilitate peace and to develop mechanisms to ensure that we have sustainable peace in the country, is in keeping with that mandate that we want to remain and explore avenues to really have meetings, separate meetings, still with the members or the representatives of the two political parties, have an election that is devoid of violence, and we will not see a repeat of what we saw during the Ablekuma elections. So briefly, that is the briefing that we will give you for now. Probably as we are with you, if tomorrow there is any new development, still we will meet you and give you some update.
Now, away from election-related stories, lawyers for Chief Justice Gertrude Iraba Saki Isaba Tokunu have dismissed the grounds for her removal, accusing the Justice Scott Poaman Committee of colluding with government to force her out. Now, President John Mahama acted on the committee's recommendations, which concluded that allegations against the CJ amounted to stated misbehavior. Despite fighting the process in the High Court, Supreme Court, and even at the ECOWAS, all her legal challenges failed, and just one petition was enough to cost her the gavel. But her lawyer, former Attorney General Ayiko Otu, insists the outcome was predetermined.
As part of her conditions of service, and saying that, well, I intend to go to Arusha, and then the Judicial Secretary, the head of finance, travels, all those who have anything to do with travel, work on it and give the Chief Justice what is her entitlement. And again, as I said, there is a foreign policy or travel policy for the judiciary. They never refer to it. And that travel policy
you mean
says...
the committee didn't refer to it?
They didn't refer to it, although we tendered it. Now, look, this is the travel policy. She's entitled to travel with one person of her own choice. And she chose to do this. Remember that there have been other Chief Justices, some of them who had no spouses. And therefore, the law as at the time was that you could go with, if it's not your spouse, any person of your own choice. And so what wrong did the Chief Justice
Now, former MP for Tamale Central and former ranking member on Parliament's Constitutional Legal Affairs Committee, Inusa Fuseni, says the travel policy of the Judicial Service, did not allow the Chief Justice to travel on private trips with her family and be paid from state coffers.
Evans, thank you for having me. First of all, Mr. Ayuko, to know that a person who is not appointed to work in the public service cannot spend public resources. If you are invited by an office within the public service for a service, a meeting, or a conference, you are given a per diem. You are not given salary. You're not entitled to spend without something. I don't know of any policy that allows you to travel with your family on government expense. That would be impunity. Why will I travel with my family on government expense? There's a policy that allows you to travel with your family, but you must foot the bill of your family. The public service can facilitate your travel, but the bill must be borne by you, the public officer.
That is if you're traveling with your spouse.
With your spouse.
If you're traveling alone, you're fine.
You're fine.
But if you decide to go with your spouse.
If you are traveling alone, your status is a public officer, and you are entitled to travel. But if you are traveling with any person at all, within your family, you must bear.
Now, flag bearer hopeful of the NPP, Kennedy Ohene-Agyapong, is brushing off criticisms that his outspoken and no-nonsense style could undermine the party's chances in the 2028 general elections if he wins the presidential primaries next year. According to Mr. Agyapong, his candid approach should not be mistaken for divisiveness, but rather as proof of his commitment to speaking truth to power and putting the interest of ordinary Ghanaians first.
The truth, and you might step on toes because you're speaking the truth. I'm tough because I've traveled far and wide and I know how things work. So when I come to my country and people don't want to accept whatever theories I'm propounding or ideas that I'm coming up with, they come for speaking. And to tell you the truth, same people that think Agyapong is tough, they travel outside the country and systems work, they obey. They come here and they don't want to obey any system. Why? Because they think it's their country and they can do anything that they want. No, that shouldn't happen. So I'm just a straightforward shooter. I'm not here to antagonize anybody. But when you come to my office, you see the photograph about the synchronized thing.
Away from that, residents in some parts of the central region may soon face intermittent water supply and higher tariffs if urgent steps are not taken to halt illegal mining activities. Now, this comes as the Ghana Water Company says illegal alluvial mining is accounting for dangerously high turbidity levels at the Winneba Water Treatment Plant. Officials of the company warn of a shutdown if the situation persists. Stephen Mensah has more in the following report.
At the Winneba Water Treatment Plant, the water looks muddy and polluted, a direct result, officials say, of illegal alluvial mining in the Ituwa Forest and along the Denso River. The Ghana Water Company's managing director, Adam Mutawakilu, says the damage is already driving up costs. To make the water safe, the company is now forced to use twice the normal amount of chemicals, like aluminium sulfate.
We used to use aluminium sulfate, or popularly known as alum. But in most cases, the turbidity of the water is so high that we cannot use aluminium sulfate. We use what we call polyelectrolyte. And the polyelectrolyte is 5 times expensive So you could see that the water there is brown, the turbidity is high.
Adam Mutawakilo also responded sharply to claims of disruptions in Winnipeg's water supply by the minority leader Afenyomarkin. Last month, Mr. Afenyomarkin urged the Ghana Water Company Limited in a letter to immediately restore water supply to the Efutu municipality, claiming that disruption was causing unbearable hardship for the population of 140,000.
And Ghana Water, wherever we have interruption, we always inform our customers. So if you look at the data, it doesn't support the claim he made. And I thought that as board chairman, if he had evidence, former board chairman of Ghana Water Limited, he should have consulted the management of Ghana Water Limited to see whether what he has made, claim he has made is true or not.
At the Agona Kunyanku water treatment plant, the situation is no different. The impact of illegal mining along the Dinsu River and in the Tiwa forest is clearly visible at this intake.
As you can see at the intake, the turbidity of the water is not the best. I was told as of last week it went up to 32,000 NTU, and today it's about 11,000. And the design of the plant is to operate at 2,500 NTU. So you realize that even today, the design of the plant times 5 is what the turbidity of the water is.
Despite the challenges, the Ghana Water Company says there is hope. Plans are underway to build new treatment plants at Ouija, Boom, and other sites to keep pace with growing demand for potable water.
Some of the pipes in Ouija are asbestos. You could see that on this modern world, we don't expect the use of asbestos as means of transmitting water to customers.
From the Agona Kunyaku water treatment plant here in the central region, I'm Stephen Mensah, reporting for JoyNews.
Well, it's now time for some business update, and Amefa Akusiadeti has the details.
Thank you so much, Nuala Karen Yeli, for bringing us news update. Now, to wrap the news update, to bring you some business updates. And first, the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies has disclosed that prices of petroleum products will witness some significant increase. Now, according to the Chamber, the development is as a result of forex and supply challenges. Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, Dr. Riverson Opon, said although the supply issues have been resolved, prices of petroleum products will still go up to 3 to 4%.
We have 24 hours to inform the regulator MPA about our changes, and I always like to take the opportunity to educate the public that we just don't stand up and change. We just don't wake up and change prices. We go through the right procedures, and that's why even though this price should have been taking effect from today, but we are reluctant. But from tomorrow, you should see most of the oil marketing companies updating their prices because emails have been sent to the regulator about the decision to increase prices by a few percentage, 1 to 3 to 3 to 4, based on where you get your product from.
To wrap the business update, let's bring you what's happening on the commodities market.